Among the many wars in U.S. history, few are as misunderstood as the War of 1812. This conflict shaped the young republic. It forged legends, brought humiliating defeats. The roots of war lay in trade and maritime rights. Britain barred American ships from trading with France and seized U.S. sailors for its navy.
France, locked in war with Britain, also seized American ships and blocked them from British ports.
In 1810, Congress passed Makinel's Bill No. 2. It reopened trade, but threatened to cut off.
Napoleon promised to lift restrictions, but tricked Madison into embargoing Britain. His deception soon became clear.
By 1812, every attempt at diplomacy had failed. As one congressman said,
on June 1, 1812, President James Madison asked Congress to declare war.
Ironically, Britain had revoked its trade restrictions just 2 days earlier, but news traveled too slowly to stop the war.
The decision to go to war deeply divided America. Republicans supported it, while Federalists opposed. To Republicans, Federalist reluctance to fight hinted at loyalty to Britain and betrayal of the Republic. Yet the war's support did not follow logic. New England, most hurt by British interference at sea, largely opposed the war.
Meanwhile, southern and western states, with little maritime trade, backed the war with enthusiasm.
For Western settlers, war meant a chance to seize Canada and punish Britain for aiding native resistance. Generational divides also emerged. Older congressmen urged caution, while young leaders like Henry Clay and Joan C. Calhoun demanded action.
Calhoun declared they must prove not only that liberty was inherited, but that they had the will and power to defend it.
But America was unprepared. The army had fewer than 7,000 soldiers, and recruiting more proved difficult. By late 1812, fewer than 10,000 new volunteers had joined. Many lacked uniforms, weapons, or training.
The Navy was even weaker. Just 17 warships, none able to match Britain's massive ships of the line.
Financial troubles worsened matters. With the national bank gone and Congress hesitant to raise taxes, funds were scarce. Despite the odds, leaders believed invading Canada would be quick and easy. Jefferson even called it a mere matter of marching.
The invasion plan had 3 prongs. General William Hull from Michigan, Stephen Van Rensselaer across the Niagara.
But problems emerged at once. Hull hesitated, fearing native attacks and British reinforcements. Hull advanced into Canada, expecting local support. Instead, after small skirmishes, he retreated in fear. In August 1812, British troops surrounded Detroit. Hull surrendered without firing a shot, giving up all of Michigan. Hull was court-martialed and sentenced to death, though Madison spared him for past service. He lived in disgrace. Meanwhile, Van Rensselaer crossed the Niagara River in October, surprising the British at Queenston Heights. The Americans gained the upper hand, but the New York militia refused to cross into Canada.
Outnumbered and unsupported, Van Rensselaer's men were overwhelmed. The invasion collapsed with heavy losses.
In November, General Dearborn marched from New York with thousands, but many state militias refused to leave their borders. By the time Dearborn reached the Canadian border, thousands had deserted, leaving his army crippled. At Lacole Mills in November, his force was defeated by a British and native detachment a fraction of his size. Dearborn abandoned the campaign after this minor defeat. Observers mocked it as a miscarriage without even the heroism of disaster.
Ironically, America's brightest successes in 1812 came not on land, but at sea.
Though small, the U.S. Navy had powerful frigates, capable of challenging Britain's finest. In August 1812, Captain Isaac Hull commanded USS Constitution against HMS Guerriere.
The Constitution's heavy hull repelled British cannon fire, earning her the nickname Old Ironsides.
The Guerriere was destroyed,
lifting American morale at a time of repeated failures on land.
Soon after, the USS United States and other frigates scored victories in one-on-one duels. American privateers also struck hard, capturing over 450 British merchant ships in 1812 alone. These naval victories carried little strategic date, but they boosted American morale.
For President Madison, they were a political lifeline, restoring confidence in his leadership. In November 1812, Madison secured re-election, bolstered by these hard-won triumphs at sea. Yet, despite victories afloat, the reality on land was grim.
By the end of 1812, the United States had lost Detroit and failed in its invasions of Canada.
American troops were scattered, short of supplies, and faced superior British forces.
The young republic found itself in a desperate struggle for survival.
The War of 1812 had only just begun.
Ahead lay greater trials, fiercer battles, and the test of America's very future.
The forgotten war was far from over.
In the early months of 1813, America sought redemption after a year of setbacks.
New campaigns were planned against British Canada, with hopes of finally turning the tide.
But the war remained divided at home, with New England merchants protesting the conflict. Meanwhile, native confederacies allied with Britain continued to resist American expansion. In the West, fierce battles erupted between American forces and native warriors.
At sea, privateers pressed on, striking British commerce wherever they could.
The U.S. Navy, though still small, gained fame through daring victories on the open waters.
The war tested the courage of soldiers, sailors, and leaders alike.
Though forgotten by many today, its impact on America's identity was profound.
The War of 1812 was a crucible, forging the young republic's resolve.
From humiliation at Detroit to glory at sea, America endured a year of extremes. The struggle revealed deep divisions between regions, parties, and generations. For young leaders like Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun, it was a chance to prove their generation's strength.
For veterans like William Hull, it was a descent into disgrace.
For sailors on the high seas, it was a test of courage and survival.
The War of 1812 forged myths, heroes, and lessons that shaped the young republic.
Though often called America's forgotten war, its legacy endures in the nation's story.
The war had only begun in 1812, but its echoes would shape America for generations to come.